Hell's Kitchen Season 23, Episode 16, the finale review. Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. After watching the season finale, I must say, I kinda knew who was gonna win after watching the first 10 minutes of the episode, but I decided to continue watching just for the hell of it. Now over the course of the review, I will share my thoughts on the two finalists, the winner of the competition, and I will share my final thoughts for the season. So without any further delay, let's jump right in. So prior to the start of the final dinner service, we see Hannah and Kyle meeting with their respective teams, and there seems to be a drastic difference between how the two finalists are preparing for the finale. Kyle has a team of very talented chefs who've all shown that they can be hot-headed from time to time, but Kyle is very logical with how he approaches this service. He assigns all the chefs a very specific station, and he creates a menu that's fairly simple but delicious. Hannah, on the other hand, has a team of chefs that have much potential, but all of Hannah's team members have been up for elimination more times than the chefs on Kyle's team. Furthermore, Hannah's menu for this service is a reflection of who she is, and it's full of wacky, complex flavors. In my opinion, when you take a group of chefs on Hannah's team and you give them complex dishes, this is a recipe for disaster. If I were Hannah, I would have created a menu that catered to the strengths of my team members, but I also wanted a menu that would reflect my vision. So at this point of the episode, I felt that Kyle had a clear advantage, but I also felt that Hannah was still within striking distance of Kyle. But then there was the final dinner service. And I give Gordon credit for making it seem like Kyle and Hannah were neck and neck during the dinner service, but from my vantage point, the final dinner service was not even close. If we're talking about leadership skills alone, Kyle was by far the better leader. Some of the chefs on Kyle's team made mistakes, but Kyle caught nearly all of those mistakes. Kyle made his voice heard, he told his team what he expected, and when his team didn't meet his expectations, he communicated what he wanted from them in a clear and concise manner. Even when Kyle and Joe had their dust up, Kyle rebounded as a leader by reassuring Joe that he's doing a great job and that he can do it. Lastly, I want to mention Whit and how she was during the dinner service. I initially feared that Whit might try to sabotage Kyle's dinner service out of anger that she didn't make it to the finale, but Whit was by far the MVP for Kyle's team and the overall dinner service. Hannah, on the other hand, was a good leader, but she was not a great leader. Gordon caught most of Hannah's team's mistakes, such as Brittany burning her appetizers and Anne-Marie serving dry chicken in the final dish. Hannah made her voice known, but it seemed like Egypt made his voice known even more than she did. It also seemed like Hannah did more hand-holding with her team than Kyle did. Once again, what it all boiled down to was which chef showed the better leadership skills, and Kyle was playing chess while Hannah was playing checkers. Hannah should be proud of herself for what she was able to accomplish, but part of me wishes that it had been Egypt that went up against Kyle in the finale, because I think that Egypt, with its improved leadership skills and its bold flavors, were a better matchup for Kyle. Also in hindsight, I think that if Hannah could have picked her team all over again, she should have swapped out Brittany for Whit, while keeping Amanda and Anne-Marie. I think the swap would have made all the difference in the world. So there you have it, folks. Kyle is the winner of this season of Hell's Kitchen, and he won fair and square. But I do wonder how this season of Hell's Kitchen would have ended if we had a different top 10 lineup. And I came up with this idea because in my opinion, Brittany, Lulu, and Anne-Marie had no business being in the top 10. In this scenario, I factored in some of the questionable eliminations during the season, as well as the tap-outs, and I came up with a new list of chefs. In this scenario, my top 10 would include Kyle, Hannah, Egypt, Whit, Brandon, Joe, Amanda, and the new chefs would be Anthony, Megan, and Yuri. I think in this scenario, the chefs that advance to the Black Jacket round are Kyle, Hannah, Anthony, Megan, and Egypt. Even though Yuri was included in this top 10, I didn't see enough from him to know that he would make it to the final 3 or get a Black Jacket. But I do think that Yuri's skills alone make him better than Brittany and Anne-Marie. And you also might notice that I left Whit off the Black Jacket round. I firmly believe that if Megan had stayed in the competition, that the tension between her and Whit would have eventually came to a head, and Whit's meltdown would have came a lot sooner than it did. And even if Whit was on the cusp of getting a Black Jacket, but she showed a ton of attitude because she didn't get the first or second Black Jacket, I think that Gordon would have ensured that she didn't get a Black Jacket at all. Now here's where things get a little interesting. With Whit being out of the black jacket round, and Kyle not having his partner in crime, means that he might not have the motivation to kick things into second gear. I think that at this point in the competition, Megan is the one to kick things into second gear, and she reaches the finale where she faces off against Anthony. And in that kind of matchup, Megan wins 10 times out of 10. I know that this is fantasy and all, but I feel that this prediction is very plausible. So if I had to give the season an overall rating, I would give it a solid 7. This was definitely a season that was harder to predict than previous season. I like the concept for this season being head chefs only, but I don't really think that Gordon's expectations for the participants in this season were drastically different from his expectations in previous seasons. And if there was anything I would change in the future seasons of Hell's Kitchen, then I would love to see a minor change to the episode that features the final 3 chefs. In my opinion, having the season finale showdown be solely determined by which chefs cook the best is not the best way to go about doing it, because it allows more bias in the judge's decision. All of the chefs can cook an amazing dish, but if a judge prefers one cooking method over another, or one cut of meat over another, then they might be tempted to vote where their heart leads them, which is fine, but at this point in the competition, we all know that the final 3 chefs can cook. What we don't know is how the 3 chefs would fare in leading staff members of Gordon Ramsay's kitchen. So here's my proposed change. The second to the last episode for the season should be the same format as previous episodes in the season, which has a cooking challenge and an elimination challenge. For the cooking challenge, I think that the show should keep the cook-off between the 3 chefs and have the judges rank the dishes from best to worst. The winner of the challenge should get an advantage towards the elimination challenge. Now, in the elimination portion of the challenge, the 3 chefs will have to showcase their leadership skills by showing their ability to lead a brigade of Hell's Kitchen veteran employees during dinner service. The chef who won the head-to-head cooking challenge would then get to choose the menu that all the chefs have to utilize during their dinner service. At the end of the dinner service, the Hell's Kitchen employees get to vote on which chef did the best job leading the pass. And if there's a tie, then Gordon serves as the tiebreaker, with the loser getting eliminated. I firmly believe that allowing the Hell's Kitchen employees, who are familiar with Gordon's standards, to have a say in which chef they feel is the best leader adds another layer of legitimacy to this competition. But those are my thoughts, and this marks the end of my review. The past 4.5 months have literally flown by, and it's been a blast. But I want to thank everybody who checked out this season of Hell's Kitchen. I want to thank everybody who checked out my reviews. Whether you agreed or disagree with my predictions and my opinions on the direction of the show, it was all love over here, and I enjoyed the engagement. So to everybody out there, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.